It seems I have recently been outed as a Christian, which is confusing for me because I didn't realize it was a secret. I thought it was obvious. But to make it more obvious and avoid confusion in the future, here are 5 Christian nonfiction books I recommend. Number 1, A More Christ-Like God by Bradley Jersak. I have loved everything I have read by Jersak, but this is where I would recommend a new reader to start. Jersak's central premise is that God is good, God is love, and so anything that is not good, that is not loving, God cannot do because that is against his nature. If you've ever had questions about those wrath of God passages in the Bible or why the Old Testament God seems to be so different from Jesus, then this is the book for you. Jersak writes largely from an Eastern Orthodox perspective, but I think his books are very accessible, this one in particular. Number 2, Called Out of Darkness by Anne Rice. Some of you know Anne Rice as the author of Interview with a Vampire. What you may not know is that she was raised in the church, but became an atheist for most of her adulthood before returning radically to her faith later in life. This book is her memoir about that experience and her journey. I found it very moving and beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. Rice expressed this kind of sweet infatuation with Jesus later in life, and I really wish I'd gotten to meet her while she was still with us. Number 3, The Cross and the Lynching Tree by James H. Cone. James H. Cone was one of the great Black theologians of our time. Cone actually grew up in the lynching era, and in this book, he draws parallels between the unjust public murder of Jesus by a mob in first century Palestine and the unjust murder of thousands of Black people by mobs in America. It is not a fun book, it is not a happy book, but I think it is an important book. I would highly recommend this book, especially to people living in the United States. Number 4, The Making of Biblical Womanhood by Dr. Beth Allison Barr. This book is mostly a history book that tackles how the role of women in Christianity today, particularly Protestant Christianity, is vastly different from what it has been historically. So this book takes us through 2,000 years of Christianity, explaining how the role of women has changed, particularly since the Protestant Reformation. The belief that the highest calling of women is to be wives and mothers is a very new idea. Historically, Christians understood that the highest call of a woman was the same as that of a man, to have a relationship with God. This book talks about when that changed, why that changed, and how patriarchy has infected modern Christianity. Number 5, The Catechism of the Catholic Church by the Catholic Church. You can tell this book was written by nerds, and I freaking love it. The whole book is very logical, very intellectual, and they show their work and how they arrived at the answers. For example, I really love the Catholic framework for reconciling science and religion. When I realized evolution was real, like scientifically proven, I had a bit of a crisis of faith because it did not fit with the evangelical creationist worldview I'd been taught. What the Catholic Church teaches is that science illuminates natural truth and religion illuminates spiritual truth. So they cannot contradict each other because they are both still truth. So while like the creation account in Genesis is not scientifically true in the sense you could have filmed everything with an iPhone exactly as described, we can still trust the spiritual truths the story is trying to teach. The creation story was written to convey spiritual truth, not scientific truth. I am a little over halfway through and loving it. I have found all these books to be very helpful to me, and hopefully at least 1 or 2 of them sounds interesting to you. Anyway, I can still give you spicy romance recommendations because duality of woman and all that. For Bacala!